It smells like a public bathroom. Oh, it kind of tastes like a public bathroom.
Yeah, the minute you said that, I can still taste
It's like if you're sitting in a public bathroom and the air freshener goes off, but it also still kind of stinks from someone. That's what this smells and tastes like. I can't
Have you
do
ever
it.
thought that farts are ghost poop? I mean, poop ghosts. Caitlin, I'm going to go get another one.
You need another one? Oh, that's gross. We're opening something called Let's See Lager Beer from Yahat's Brewing Company. Oh, CC Lager Beer from Yahat's, which is, I've been to Yahat's. Sarah didn't tip my beer glass when she poured. She just dumped it straight in after tipping hers.
Okay.
Cheers.
Yeah, Evan's parents live in good old Yahat's on the coast.
Oh, this one's better. It's a very basic, like a Budweiser, but better, like the craft version of a Bud. But
yeah. It's very, very easy to drink. It's very crisp, refreshing. Yeah.
It doesn't taste like a bathroom.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I still have to listen to you.
Oh, man. That sucks. Okay. So I'm going to be telling you about the Pimlico Mystery.
The pimple what?
Say pimples what? The Pimlico Mystery. And my sources are Wikipedia.
Oh.
I know you didn't read your sources.
I didn't. Can I read them real quick?
Yes. We like to give credit where credit is due. It's actually really important to our core values.
Murderpedia, Crime Museum, History Collection, an article by Donna Patricia Ward, BBC News, and All That's Interesting, an article by my BFF, Katie Serena.
Katie Serena, you're out there doing the Lord's work.
Now you go.
Okay, Wikipedia, also Murderpedia, Strange Company, and an article by Michael Farrell for the BMJ. Okay, so in 1886, a grocer...
I forgot what our theme was, and I was like, oh, that's close to my year. How do we both pick cases around the same year? I'm dumb.
Read the word on the top
Victorian
of my page.
Okay, got it. I've caught up. Go.
That's so crazy. Okay.
Caught up
so
to you.
In 1886, a grocer in London died of fatal chloroform poisoning. Maybe he did.
Maybe he died, or maybe that's how he died.
Maybe that's how.
Okay.
So, by the way, it killed him, and the amounts that were found were highly unusual in his body and seemed to defy science. So we'll talk about that.
What was in his body?
Liquid chloroform.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Normally, you just put it on a rag and put it in someone's face. You don't put it down their throat.
You're like, come on, guys. Don't you do what all of us do? Okay, so there's a lot of varied information about this case. I know you said, like, one source said this, one source said that for your case. That tends to happen. I feel like the older cases are.
Yeah.
So it's the same
It was
with
the 1800s. We'll forgive them.
Yeah, and
calendars weren't invented yet. There were no dates.
They would look to the wall just in some
to the window. My favorite thing, and mine was Amelia born in 1867 or 1868. We're not sure.
So again, she may or may not have existed. So there's a lot of varied information. And most of the sources telling the story were telling it slightly differently. So I did my real best to tell it as accurately as possible. But much like the game like Telephone, where things get passed down over and over and over, I'm sure some things are maybe inconsistent. But anyways, I tried. So a baby boy was born in London in 1846. And he was born into a very close-knit family that owned a series of very successful grocery stores. And his name was Thomas Edwin Bartlett. And Thomas lived in central London and eventually took up the family trade of grocery and followed in their footsteps, becoming a pretty successful grocer. In 1875, Thomas was 29 years old, and 29-year-old Thomas was introduced to 19-year-old Adelaide Blanche de la Tremoille. And Adelaide was born in France in 1855. So her mother was English, living in France, and her mom was described as obscure, and her name was Clara Chamberlain. Clara was married to a French man, Adolphe Coyet de la Tremoille, and he was a math teacher. And Adolphe may or may not have been Adelaide's biological father, but she did take his name. There was just so much information, and I wonder how much of it was to make the case more mysterious. They're and she came from France, but she was English, but she had an illegitimate dad, and her mom was a weirdo.
Well, those are also things that people really cared about back then. Your parents weren't married. Mm-hmm. You get the last name Snow.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens to you. Now go to the baby farm.
That shit married.
Yes.
Mattered. What am I saying?
I like that I agreed, though. I'm what Caitlin says goes.
That shit got married.
That shit's married, yo. That's how you know that it's important.
That bathroom beer fucked us.
One sip and we're in the bathroom. Okay, so one source said that her father, so they say that de la Tremoille was not her biological father. One source said her real father was a well-known, respectable Englishman who secretly remained an important person in her life, but could not be revealed due to his notability. But who knows? And
Is this the Princess Diaries?
I'm actually telling you a really fucked up version of the Princess Diaries.
Okay.
No, but this will matter later.
Okay.
So regardless, though, for now, in 1860, Adolphe died, so her French dad or whatever, and Clara also passed away, her mom. And so in 1866, Adelaide, who was just 11, was sent to live with her aunt and uncle in England. And she had been in France the whole time in her childhood. So one source said that Adelaide met Thomas and that he was so infatuated with her that they married. Another source said that Adelaide's mystery father arranged the marriage. A third source said that her parents approved of this marriage, but her parents had died years before.
Now it's Anastasia.
And then another source said Thomas was paid to marry her. So there are a lot of varying opinions, but the fact is they did get married. They did get married. So it looks like the introduction between the two was arranged, though, because all of the different stories had to do with like them sort of being set up, but that wouldn't have been uncommon in Victorian times. So the two were married right away. And one source said that Adelaide resented how close Thomas's family was because she never had that. And another source said that Thomas was not interested in having any kind of physical relationship at all with Adelaide and that it was completely platonic. And Adelaide will say this later. Regardless, the common thread is that their marriage was strange. People just say they were just kind of odd. It appeared that there were stipulations to the marriage that Thomas had set up, or that the person who arranged them had set up, maybe that notable secret father. These are the stipulations. So 1, Thomas was solely responsible for Adelaide. Okay, fine. 2, he had to promise never to mention her strange family history to anyone. And then lastly, he had to continue her education for her. Because of the education clause of their marriage, right after they were married, he actually sent Adelaide to live at a boarding school, and she stayed there for a year because she was a lot younger than he was. She was still in her teens as a 19-year-old. And so she stayed there, and after that, she went to a Protestant convent. She was Catholic, but had to convert to her husband's religion, which I couldn't figure out what it was, but I'm guessing another form of Christianity. In 1877, 2 years after their wedding, they were finally able to live together as woman and husband. So Adelaide had a hard time making friends, and she spent a lot of time alone. And that first year back at home, Adelaide had a romantic affair with Thomas's brother, so her brother-in-law. And her father-in-law was the one who kind of like found out, and he told everyone. He was super pissed and super embarrassed and hated Adelaide's guts and told the whole family. And Thomas actually took Adelaide's side and was like, well, whatever, like, it's my wife. Like, please stop saying this about her. So, but it obviously happened. So the brief affair ended and her brother-in-law moved to America. And that was kind of over. In 1881, Adelaide got pregnant. And after a very long, very difficult labor, her baby was stillborn. And she was deeply upset and deeply traumatized. And she told Thomas that she never wanted to be pregnant again. Like, it scared her so much that she's like, nope, never. It's not for us. Like, it's not for me. So in 1883, the beginning of the end began. Thomas and Adelaide moved to a different area of London and quickly made a new friend, 27-year-old George Dyson, not of the vacuum.
I was going to ask.
The vacuum heirloom. Get it? Like, there's air that goes through vacuums for the suck part. The suction part. Yeah.
I'm just going to let you have that one.
I'm sorry. Okay. So George Dyson was the same age as Adelaide. Now, Adelaide was 27 at this point, and Thomas was 37 because he was 10 years older than Adelaide. And he was the local pastor in this area, so at a church. George began tutoring Adelaide in the classics because she was supposed to continue her education. It was a stipulation of the marriage. So Thomas and Adelaide were so...
Ghostbusters? No,
Ghostbusters?
Home Alone? Jurassic Park.
Speaking of Jurassic Park, you're going to love this next part. Thomas and Adelaide were so close with George that they had a nickname for him called Georgius Rex. It's not a joke.
I love dinosaurs.
Georgius Rex is what they called him.
Why don't you have a dinosaur nickname for me?
Because every nickname about dinosaurs just ends with Osaurus.
Caitlinosaurus?
That
Cooliosaurus?
That sounds like you're half Irish, half dinosaur. Osaurus.
I'm changing my name legally.
Caitlinosaurus. I may be from the Jurassic era. I may be from Ireland.
Changing
You
my name.
decide.
I'm changing my name.
So they had this friend, Georgius Rex, who was tutoring Adelaide. But then Thomas and Adelaide moved to the suburb of Pimlico in central London. But they remained really close with George. He wasn't their neighbor anymore, but like they still hung out all the time in a possible ménage à trois kind of fashion. So Adelaide was having a full-fledged relationship with George, actually. That's what that means. And some sources said that Thomas knew and actually like gave Adelaide to George. Some say because he was the one who wanted to be platonic and she also didn't want to have children. But then again, like it said that she did. Sleep around is a terrible word because whatever, but like
people have needs.
People got needs. But anyways, it seems like he approved of this sexual relationship that they had. So one day Adelaide told Georgosaurus Rex that Thomas had been complaining of a mysterious internal complaint for a few years now.
I have some external complaints.
Can you please hear about my mysterious external complaints? Thank you. She told George allegedly that she had been giving him, with his consent, chloroform to relieve his internal pain. Miss Adelaide talks about chloroform a few times in a few different ways, so it sounds like maybe she's lying. Thomas's health took a quick turn for the worse after they moved to Pimlico. He had been having dental problems, which weren't uncommon in the Victorian times. We had more sugar in our diets and
no toothbrushes or toothpaste.
And no great resources.
People didn't brush their teeth.
And they were eating candy stuff.
Yeah.
Just candy stuff. So he
only ate candy and candied apples. That's what they lived off of.
Haven't you seen the Victorians? Top hats and candy apples.
And pie. They ate pie for dinner. They lived off of
They're
pie.
just a bunch of babies.
They never ate anything but pie.
They just put their toys in them.
I don't even like pie, except pumpkin pie and buttermilk pie.
I only like Thanksgiving pies. Like that's
pumpkin pie and buttermilk pie.
Well, and I like my apple pie.
I don't like fruit pie. If there's anyone out there who has had buttermilk pie, tell me, because no one has heard of it.
Probably Evan. I think he's talked about that.
It is a Southern thing.
Yeah, he's from Alabama. Okay, so anyways, Thomas, Adelaide's husband, had been having dental problems. And he wanted to just get dentures. He's like, you know what? I just want to stop worrying about this.
Me too, Thomas. Me too.
It's the easy out. That's my new business, dentures, the easy way out. So he went to a dentist, and instead of removing his teeth, the dentist, as a dentist should, the dentist just sawed his teeth to the gum line. But the roots were like exposed because he just.
No.
That should have been my trigger warning, I guess.
I can feel that.
Yeah. Oh. Mm-hmm. It makes you like have to like lick your teeth. But it gets worse, of course. So that caused a ton of pain, obviously.
Oh, and did it? Did it cause pain?
That's what I read. I've never had that done, so I'm not sure.
Hurt.
And it also caused a terrible infection, like in every single tooth, because the tooth was exposed.
I'm shocked.
He got such a bad infection. This is so sad, but almost sounds funny. Like his breath was so bad from how bad the infection was that Adelaide and him had to sleep in separate rooms. Like they were, even though they didn't have a sexual relationship, like they didn't hate each other. Like they were, married, but like it was that bad. Thomas had a doctor named Alfred Leach, and Alfred Leach is a new character in our story.
Did he leech onto people?
Was this the time they were doing leeches as medical treatments?
I always feel bad for you when you go second because I'm interrupting. I'm sorry.
No, you're cute. I like you. So Alfred Leach was really concerned about his, one, the internal complaint that Thomas had, and then two, it was just called the internal complaint.
But next time I have a stomach ache, I'm like, I have an internal complaint. Help.
Dr. Leach thought that the internal complaint was indigestion caused by mercury.
Indigestion, diarrhea.
Caused by mercury poisoning, which he had some symptoms of mercury poisoning. So Dr. Leach asked if he had been taking mercury. Mercury at this time was used also for like medical things, so it was common in the household. Like
we talked about this in your episode when you spilled your family secret.
If you haven't heard the episode of the Family Beans, listen to Women Who Kill. So Dr. Leach was like, have you been taking mercury for syphilis? Because that's what it was mostly used for. And Thomas was like, no, that's awful and disgusting. But I am taking it, but not for that. But I'm not telling you why.
Syphilis.
I'm not
Leave
telling
me
you.
alone.
I'm not telling you why, but I took it, but I don't know why. He told Dr. Leach he did not know why he was taking it, but he was taking it.
I don't have
Anyways,
syphilis. Get off my
stop.
back.
Stop it.
I just like it.
Who are
Okay.
you, Syphilis Snape? Stop.